everyone. Welcome to Health 180 with Carrion Fenn and Rogers TV. My name is Carrion Fenn. In 2024, out of 200 missing youths between ages 12 to 17, 110 in Toronto were Black, according to Now Toronto. 96% of missing Black youths in Toronto were found. Today, I'm joined by Katie, Precious, Lori, Cashry to explore youth exploitation and protection. We want to help you learn more, so let's learn together. Everyone, welcome to our show.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Katie, tell us about yourself.
Hi, I'm a mother, a Christian woman, and I'm a nurse, and I have children.
Lori, I want to ask you this. Welcome back to our show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
This is a very important topic for our community, and as someone who's in the mental health industry and have an experience in all these areas, can you tell us, why do you think we have been seeing a rise in Black youths being exploited or missing these days?
Well, other than the structural inequalities that we are aware of, I do believe it could be due to we had the socialization, isolation, we had the pandemic. So a lot of issues have been on the rise, especially when it comes to like economic disadvantages. So they've become a lot more open and available to older, I'm going to say older youth who are in the process of grooming and luring them out to do a lot of their bidding.
Okay. Kashvi, tell us about yourself.
Hi, I'm Kashvi and I'm a high school student. I'm part of the Alex Monahan Youth Program and I'm the co-chair. I've been active in helping organize our youth mental health chat, Queen's Park mental health chat, our mental health flag raising, and administering the youths in the program.
Precious, can you share with us? I know often we all see ourselves from different lenses and perspective. Can you share with us, who is Precious?
I am an educator of over 20 years. I am a mother of two young children, a worship leader in my local church, and also an author, a children's author of a book for children ages 2 to 8, and another one for youth coming up with the age range of 7 to 13.
Okay. Kashvi, as a young person yourself, what do you think are some of the biggest challenges you face?
I think one of the biggest challenges for young people right now is just the amount of pressure we face. I mean, whether it's doing well in school, looking a certain way online, or just keeping up with everyone else is doing, it can be really overwhelming, especially for a teenager. And this just brings up, comparison. I mean, it's the thief of joy, as people say. You see everyone online looking perfect, living the perfect life, and it causes you to feel like you're behind. And as a teenager, you're also figuring out who you are at such a young age. And it's just, you feel like you don't have the space to make mistakes or being yourself without being judged.
Precious, you have experience being a school teacher for a long time. I don't know how you do it. It's hard. It's hard to deal with these young individuals. I've been mentoring a few of them, and I just love them. They're all, well, I now see why you got, for years, I always thought like, oh my gosh, I don't think I could ever do it, but I'm getting a perspective where I'm like, okay, now I see why they do it. Because, even though we go through the thing as who is Miss Fenn's favorite? And they all go through that challenges. They're all special in their own way, but I want you to tell us what challenges have you observed in how young people are being exploited these days?
A lot has changed over the 2 decades that I've been teaching. With a change in
Mhm.
society comes a change within the classroom simultaneously, for sure. The rise in digital exploitation
Mhm.
has changed the classroom tremendously. There has been an increase of technology in the classrooms across the nation. And with
Mhm.
that comes, social media and access to these computers, even under your nose. So,
Mhm.
in terms of exploitation, it can happen, unfortunately, at any time during the day or evening.
Mhm.
And so we are trained as educators to be able to spot that difference right there on the spot. But it does add a few extra layers to our job. It adds a few extra layers to teaching. Of course, you're not only are you teaching the curriculum, but now you're kind of supervising, spying, watching, policing, making sure that there are no threats or harm online right there in the classroom. And it does
Yeah.
happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. Annie, can you share with us why is youth exploitation and protection important to you?
I think it's very important because it happens so quickly, and a lot of times too, we're out there and we have no really control as parents, and awareness is a good thing that we should be having more of, I think, as parents, because they grow up in a good, safe environment at home, but we don't know what's happening when they're starting high school, for example, for my son. And it's kind of scary when you don't really know. You hear about it, but you don't really have like the background knowledge completely of it, and you don't expect it to happen.
Can you tell us about your son, Katie?
Yeah, he's a smart, handsome young boy, and he's been raised in a Christian home. I've had no problems with him. I would say he had a really good work ethic as like a young kid, shoveling driveways, doing labor like that, and he hit high school, and that's where I noticed a lot of changes happened. He went into grade 9, and he started having times where he wouldn't come home, and that wasn't normal like him. And older people would be coming into the school and becoming friends with him or talking with him. And I noticed that after so long of him not really, coming home one night, and then it comes 2 nights, then I'm like calling for missing children because I haven't heard from him. So it's quite scary as a parent, and you don't know. Like, I have no reasons of like why this would happen, but I know
Mhm.
that influences are a huge part of it, and that's what happened with him. He went into school and just, we all want a community of friends and we want to fit in, and
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what really happened, is that there's other people that are older coming in, and they're luring these young children, kind of knowing that they want to fit in. And then he just got into older guys, and now he's doing things that I would never have thought he would have been doing. And it's hard to get him back into, understanding that, this wasn't a very healthy thing for him.
Yes. You mentioned about it's kind of interesting because I've seen a similar pattern in terms of even when it applies to like the homeless and drugs. It's someone infiltrated that system of representing themselves as being one of them who gets them trapped in that area. So that kind of reminds me of the situation with the homeless and drugs. Though for those who are actually involved in drugs, it's having that individual that come into your space that you feel that you can relate to, but you're seeing the impact of having someone who is older. It's almost, is that almost like someone is making an effort to groom
Yeah, for sure.
your son? How do you see that? What's your perspective on that?
Well, first off, like, I am a very, like, as soon as I started noticing things, I would go into the school and contact, the principal or teachers, and find out questions like how are they able to even come in contact on school property and things like
Mm-hmm.
that. So I to be honest with you, I just kind of had to learn this on the go because I wasn't sure about how everything went down. But I just know that grooming is a scary thing, especially as a parent. Watching older people come in and just, you see them with new shoes and you're wondering, okay, where did you get those new shoes, or where did you get that sweater from? And I feel like that is part of the grooming, especially for a young boy that wants to work and wants to do these things. He can't find it because, maybe there's a lack of jobs right now for younger people as well, so I feel like it all ties into this whole grooming aspect.
Yeah. So it's enticing them, the young person, with things that they may like, that they were attracted to or may want. I know when I first heard about someone at my son's school going missing, it was very difficult for me. And when I reach out to other parents, it was very concerning because we didn't know what's going on and no information is being shared with us. How did you cope? What was that moment like for you?
It was quite overwhelming. And a lot of times I think too, well, for myself, I was more like, I wanted to keep this quiet. I didn't really want to talk about it at first because I'm like, this couldn't be like happening to my son and my family. You know what I mean? And you have people like, what are they going to think? And they're, are they going to blame you as a parent? But there wasn't too much support when it comes to like, because we don't really, well, I noticed that I didn't get like, as a parent, even at age 14 or 13, these teens seem to have so much, say in everything that happens. So it's like, I can't push a little further because, they have the right to say no, or they have the right to not get the help, or there's a lot of those situations that I encountered. So it was quite difficult, but lucky enough, I knew Lori. So I reaching out and just questioning and asking, like, she has so much knowledge. So it helped me to be able to navigate that. But for people that don't, like, at first, I was like, oh my gosh, sleepless nights, praying, trying to figure it all out. It was pretty crazy.
It's crazy how that happens.
Yeah.
Um, what, Lori, what can you say? What's one thing you can say to a parent going through that in terms of reaching out for support?
Well, I mean, Katie touched on a lot of really good points. One of them I'm going to say is a lot of times parents blame themselves. Like, what did I do wrong? Why wasn't I able to protect them? And she said a couple key words like, I can't believe it's happening to my child. But the thing is, these people are professionals. They build trust, they build dependency, they exploit emotional needs. Like, yes, they provide this physical aspect, like you're going to get new this, you're going to get new that, which I believe the young lady was speaking about earlier, like social media, that comparison and kids wanting to have certain things.
Yeah.
But I think it
So
goes deeper.
when we come back, we'll pick up this conversation on the other side. You're watching Health 180 with Carrion Fenn, Rogers TV. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Health 180 with Carrion Fenn, Rogers TV. My name is Carrion Fenn. There has been an increase in youths going missing in Durham region, right here in our backyard, and we want to have a conversation to help you protect your children. My guests are back with me to share more about this important topic. Lori, we were talking about things, advice you would give, but we want to look at also, in addition to some of the warning signs, and I don't know if you want to touch on what you were saying before, or we want to find out too about some of the warning signs that teachers and parents should be looking for.
Well, Katie talked about it earlier, like the decline in their school attendance, not coming
Mm-hmm.
home as much, starting to find that they're having new acquaintances that they didn't have before. Sometimes
Mm-hmm.
they can come with like maybe even a burner phone or new gear, just things that are out of the ordinary. That's one thing that I would really strongly advise parents to look out for.
Mm-hmm.
And another thing too is how the child's relating. Like if you notice what Katie said, like he just started to act differently, right? He wasn't the
Mm-hmm.
same person he always was. And that's also another sign. I mean, we can look at it as depression, we can look at it as, anxiety in the family of anxiety. But when it's followed up with them disappearing, they're not following through with their regular routine, they've lost interest. So say they were in sports, they no longer are, things like that. You have to really be cautious and look out for. And they're usually good warning signs to let you know that something's going on.
Yeah. I can only imagine what Katie went through and what was in her mind, because I know when I found out about this, hit really close home. When I saw the young man at my son's school that was missing, um, I saw the uniform. The name of the school was not visible. They cropped the picture, but looking at the uniform, if your child actually goes to the school, regardless if the name is shown or not, you know that uniform at the back of your hand. So immediately I knew. I had reached out to the school, the superintendent, because I went into panic. I stopped my son from taking the bus. He was starting to take the bus here and there to kind of get some independence, but I stopped him from taking the bus. I was picking him up. I went in a complete panic. Wanted information. There was nothing that came to us as parents on the other side, which I felt, you know what, you didn't have to like identify the youth itself. You could talk to us parents in general terms so that we know to keep our children safe. And it come to find out, based on the same thing you guys were talking about those different things, about the shoes or enticing them with different things. And, I perhaps might have not been on the alert or been so scared had I known the information like what you guys are saying, because even being educated on some of that stuff, I know that my son, ideally my son wouldn't fit that what they're looking for, right? And that's good for a parent too, so that you know how to protect your children. From something that might have happened to your child, we can learn from it to protect our children, right? Children belongs to the community, but information is so crucial. Precious, what can school do to help protect students and build awareness around exploitation? Because that information would have been so helpful to a lot of us, in wanting to keep our children safe.
Definitely. There's a lot that can be done, and nothing can ever prepare you for, the example that you're giving, like a missing child. It's just devastating. But what we
Mhm.
do is we work on the school side to make sure that the students at a very young age are aware of the signs of danger. Um,
Mhm.
we make sure that the staff are trained in every school to notice those signs. Katie has been talking about what it looks like to, of course, notice changes in your own child, but we also see things that a parent may possibly miss. A lot of
Mhm.
times, when a child, even at a very young age, is going through something or is in an unsafe environment, it will show up in their writing.
Mhm.
Suddenly, the stories are dark, they're sad, they don't have a happy ending. The student suddenly withdraws. They are alone at recess time when they never used to be. They are sad. They want to go to the washroom all the time. Really, really simple things that can be overlooked. We are trained to notice a difference in those children. And of course, alongside that, we try our best in the school system to empower children to have a voice. They do not have to speak to you. They don't have to speak to a parent, just any trusted adult. And we hope that that trusted adult will direct them towards help of some sort. We are
Mhm.
always, talking to those students about looking for somebody that you trust, that you can start to speak to and open up to, because students, children display these signs in so many ways. But as a community, we can work together, hopefully, to save every child.
Kashfi, how can youths help support each other in staying safe?
I think the first step is really about awareness. I mean, a lot of people don't realize what exploitation can look like because it's not always obvious, and it can happen online through people pretending to be someone they're not, or in person where someone takes advantage of your trust. So, supporting each other just means helping our friends recognize the red flags and talking about it openly, because your friends are who you're spending time with most of the day, and just looking out for each other in general. So if like someone's acting differently or seems uncomfortable about a relationship or something happening online, just know that it's like okay to check in and ask if they're all right. And if they're not all right, encourage them to see a trusted adult, like Precious said.
Mm.
Katie, what can you say to parents about keeping their youth safe from exploitation after going through that process?
I would say just don't be ashamed of it and be able to speak out. Community is really important. Um, when you find out, that there's some support out there, other parents have gone through it. It's really important to reach out and, say like, I'm going through this. I'm not sure exactly what's happening. I need some support. I need guidance, and I feel like that's really, really important.
Precious, as an educator, how do you communicate with parents to give them that safe feeling that their children are okay while they're at school?
It's become increasingly more difficult with the dangers that are out there in society, for sure. I think that years of experience will teach you that, the education part is only part of our job, and
Mm-hmm.
that caring about these students beyond the four walls is a huge part as well. When you first start to teach, it's all about the curriculum. Nothing against the
Mm-hmm.
curriculum, but we are educating young souls and saving them as well. So the first thing you want
Mm-hmm.
to do is let those parents know that their children matter. You see them. It's important in report cards. It's important in parent-teacher interviews, or in, communication with parents, just as you walk by, to treat their child like they're more than a student. I noticed your son's
Mm-hmm.
haircut. It looks really good. Something beyond, just school related. Parents want to know that
Mm-hmm.
you see their children, that you notice, that you care. And I've noticed over the years that bringing in those personal touches, of course, you can't be best friends all year long, but bringing in those personal comments, it does help a parent feel at ease. And it's not an act. You, as an educator, need to care about those children. Every single one
Mm-hmm.
of them that is in your classroom for the year is your responsibility. They're there for a reason, and you want to exude that to parents and students alike. That way, we can be proactive instead of reactive when something happens. And
Mm-hmm.
hopefully, by doing that and by understanding that our job description has absolutely evolved into something much more, we will make the extra effort as educators to notice and to.
Yes. Lori, mental health is a crucial part of health. What kind of support should parents put in place for children who have been exploited?
I worked with human trafficking survivors for 8 years. And one of the most difficult things I've seen is the family trying to rebuild.
Mm.
Because both parties have gone through significant changes, but in
Mm-hmm.
different ways. So the one who's been exploited, they've gone through sometimes horrific experiences where the family as well has experienced a loss. There's a lot of grief. They're trying to come back together as a family. Obviously, the family is not the same. It will not be the same. So the first thing I would say is awareness. Second thing is getting support from therapy, doing therapy as a family as well as the individual therapy, definitely for the one who's been exploited, but also for the parents and siblings. A lot of times we overlook siblings, but they've also gone through a lot because that relationship has been severed. They've had a lot of fear, a lot of worry. They're also trying to balance them because remember that whole family system is uprooted. So when you're going back into the system, y'all now have to learn how to adjust to new roles, new understanding. Another thing I would like to also say is about recognizing risk factors. So oftentimes, if a youth has been exploited, when they come back home, they're still vulnerable. And they can often find themselves gravitating back to what they have just been in. Because remember, even though they've been exploited, luring them in, there was an attraction initially, not for all, but most often there was some form of attraction. And getting into that lifestyle, there were certain things that there was benefits, right? So you have to be aware of that when they're coming back home, especially if it's young people who were getting into like, selling drugs or crime of different types because they got used to the money.
Mm-hmm.
So when they're coming back home and there isn't any money and things are going back, so those are those vulnerabilities that you really have to look out for and keep that communication open, non-judgmental, no blaming, and try to create a safe space in the home, as well as working with external supports to allow them to be free to talk about things.
Yeah, that's true. November is Alex Monahan Mental Health Awareness Month, and we have a lot of program going on to help support the public, to help support youths. And this is a topic that we're going to be exploring and talking about to help support families to care for their loved ones and, have a better understanding of what's happening. Um, that's all the time we have for today's episode of Health 180 with Carrion Fenn on Rogers TV. My name is Carrion Fenn. Thank you for everyone for joining me, and thank you for joining. And remember, together we are stronger.